Hey guys, I'm Misty Eyez. I'm here with Queens of the Week, and it is Sexy Saturdays. Alright, this week's topic is from the Counter Springs, and guess what? We get to talk about RuPaul's Drag Race again, which is common, as drag queens. It's a very instrumental show in our lives. One that I can't get on for some reason. Alright, so our topic is the shade. Reading is fundamental, and the library is open. How did you learn through shade? What tips or advice would you give someone in training? Why is shade/reading such a fundamental aspect to our community? Share your personal shade stories. Have you been read by other queens? Alright. I guess it's not technically related. I read it really quick just now. I guess it's not technically RuPaul's Drag Race related, but I read the reading is fundamental, and that's something that RuPaul says. You have to think also, I'm going to give you some history, let's put it that way, because I think a lot of the kids out there don't know about our culture. RuPaul's Drag Race, for example, you've got Tyra Mail, you've got She-Mail. The producers and the writers of the show are very brilliant in that they take pop culture and twist it just a little bit. Reading is fundamental is something that was said on a TV show when I was little called Reading Rainbow. It's all about education, and they're taking the word reading as in I'm going to read you, make fun of you, and make it as in if it's like reading is reading, writing, and arithmetic. And it's like a play on words. Reading is fundamental is not actually a part of our community. Reading is not important to the gay community. However, it kind of is important. Only because, how did reading get started? Let's put it that way. I think reading was originated in our community by the fact that little gay boys growing up were usually not typically muscle-bound Cretans. They weren't on the football team. They were not on the wrestling team. And when they would get beat up or thrown in lockers or forced to use the girls' bathroom, instead of fighting back with their fists, they fought back with their words. And gay boys got very quick with their tongue. And therefore, that's where the reading would begin. Like, you might be able to punch me, you might be able to kick me, but I'm going to read you in front of everybody. And that's, I think, in the best of my knowledge, how reading originated. I'm not going to Google search, I'm not going to try to discover my own little research, but to the best of my knowledge, I think I'm right. I think that's how reading originated within our community. Because we learned very quickly that we didn't have to beat up people. We would just make fun of them. And reading them would really embarrass them. Like, for example, if you're in 8th grade and you're on the school bus and somebody calls you a faggot or whatever, and you're like, whatever, and you have observed their weaknesses, and you're like, oh gosh, you can call me faggot all you want because you're just a muscle-bound Cretan with ears too big to fit his head, and you look like an owl because your head is so big, or whatever. You attack them where you know it's going to hurt the most, but you do it in a public format. Oftentimes it's really funny, and that's where reading originated, and that's where reading came from. Now, RuPaul's Drag Race, and the reason I brought that up again, the RuPaul's Drag Race, a lot of the things that they do and or say from gay pop culture also comes from a movie called Paris is Burning. A lot. It's quoted quite often. I haven't seen Paris is Burning in several years, but I remember watching it thinking, or I remember watching RuPaul's Drag Race thinking, oh my gosh, that was all said in there. And then I watched it again, and I was like, whoa, they quote it so much. So Paris is Burning is a movie done in the 70s. A little documentary on the drag queen, the house. That was actually done on the houses. On the gay houses. A lot of times children were kicked out of their homes, and they didn't have anywhere to live. So these houses would take them in and like, look, I'll be your mom, I'll be your dad, I'll be your family because you don't have one. And then houses would get together and have benefits to raise money so they can help, you know, live. And then they would have these battles that would be called balls. And the whole movie Paris is Burning is about the balls and the ballroom scene and the houses. And it's really, really good. Anyways, in that, of course, you can't have a movie about the gay community without having a movie about the drag queens. And there's a lot of drag queens in this movie. Now, shade. Where did shade get started? How did shade get originated? Shade and reading are often used together because they're both used as weapons, I guess. Reading more so a direct attack. Shade is just being shady. Like, doing something not nice is being shady. You don't have to read to be shady. If someone gets up to go to the bathroom and you hide their chair, that's shady. If you purposely do something negative towards someone else, that's shady. So shading and reading aren't necessarily the same, but shady is just being vicious on purpose. Reading, you can read an enemy, you can be shady to an enemy. But reading in our community is also done for your friends. I know that sounds weird, but when you're hanging out, like especially in the drag queen community, if you're backstage with the girls, we can be like, oh my gosh, mama, you look so beautiful, but that lace front looks rotted. I can't believe you have the balls to wear a lace front like that, girl, or whatever. You could be reading someone for their hair, but you read them because you're friends. I don't know how to explain it. Oftentimes, you know how like when you're little, your uncles would pick on you because they love you. And I think that's generally the way it is. As in, like, most people read people that they care about or they make fun of. Reading isn't always done as... I guess what I'm trying to say is reading isn't always done as a vicious weapon. It's more often done as a term of endearment. Like a sign of love. But it is also done to your enemies and people that are attacking you. And that's when you get really, really mean and really, really vicious. And you're like, no holds barred. Listen to me, you little rodent crustacean. And you let them have it. Now, have I been read? Of course. I'm a part of the community. How can you not be read if you're part of the community? I'm not very good at reading though. Which is why I can't even give you a good example. I'm not good at reading. I guess my form of reading would be like if we're backstage and a girl's like, Mama, can I borrow your hairspray? I'm like, oh, I see you didn't come prepared for the show today. You know, publicly telling everyone that she's not prepared would kind of be a form of reading, but I don't really actually read people. I'm not good at it. I do understand it. I do think it's funny. I can take it. I'm just not very good at dishing it out, I guess. I think that you can attract more bees with honey. I don't know. I don't know why I'm not very good at it. I don't know why I've never really gotten into it either. And the tips or advice that I would give to somebody new trying to read or in training, I would say the trick to read a good read would be it has to be based on truth. You can't call someone fat if they're very skinny. You know, making fun of someone's man hands isn't funny if they're really small. For example, there's a show called Hot in Cleveland. Betty White always makes fun of Joy, calling her man hands. That would be a read, and that is funny. And it's funny because it's true. If Joy had really small hands, that wouldn't be funny. So find something that's unique or weird, or even better, if it's an attack read, find something that they're insecure about. And that's where it's really gonna go, ooh. Like if you notice someone is hunched over and insecure about their height and they're trying to be not tall, be like, oh my gosh, you Goliath Amazon creature feature 17 foot tall man walking around in high heels or whatever, trying to be all feminine and sweet and small. You know, you want to attack them where they're most insecure. But then you kind of have to know someone, which is also, again, I think why reading is mostly done to people you know and you're friends with, because you actually know that they're insecure. But again, we don't usually attack really, really painfully to your friends. You know, you don't want your friends to go home and cry. I don't know. This one's, I guess I'm all over the place with my thoughts on this one. But yeah, reading is a part of our community because we do it very well. And it is a defense mechanism, and it's a form of endearment. So therefore, it's very, very prevalent within our community. Shade can be done by anyone. Anyone can be shady. You know, not doing something nice on purpose is shady. It don't have to take intelligence. It doesn't have to take wit. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be clever. You don't have to be funny. Shady can just be like anything. What have I learned through reading? I don't know. I don't think I have a reason. Sorry, Mama, I don't know what I've learned through reading. Again, being with such a ministry background, I'm not very good at reading. But I do it sometimes. Anyways, that was Misty Eyez for Queens of the Week. Loving you, Sissy.